My name is Angela Drakeford. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska, and my residency began May 15th, 2014. I'm a visual artist with a heavy emphasis on language-based work. I started college when I was 20 years old and originally was a women's studies and social work major. I just randomly was like, I have an extra hour to kill. I should take this art class. And then I started taking more and more art classes and then decided to get my BFA from UNO and majored in sculpture. And it kind of was the beginning of my art career. As a woman of color in America, from an early age, I knew that I would never be the ideal beauty in America's in America's worldview. So knowing that from 5 has kind of created this weird feeling of never being a beautiful person. I think that now I feel more comfortable being critical of these notions of what's considered feminine and what's considered beautiful and who gets the right to wear this title of beauty in America. Maybe a year and a half ago, I started making a lot of work that dealt with racial identity and language used in my encounters where people aren't able to understand what race I am, or they're very curious about it. So I started making work that was all really racially charged and dealt a lot with hate speech. I don't know if I want the viewer to come to a point of resolution, because I don't think that I get to come to a point of resolution. I was having a really interesting conversation with another resident about why racism and racist comments hurt minorities more than the people who actually say them, is because the people who make off-the-hand comments don't ever think about the fact that they said it again. And then we're all just left kind of shell-shocked and thinking about it for the rest of our lives. It just becomes part of our story. So we don't get a resolution. So I don't really feel like giving the viewer some kind of nice little bow. Everything is perfect. Now I'm really interested in making kind of really ridiculous objects that don't make a lot of sense unless you understand the overarching concept of the work. Because I don't think anyone's really going to get a jar of rock candy by itself, but if you place it in the context of this larger body of work, I think that it fits really nicely. I do like doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. I think from my thesis, I typed on these little cards on this antique typewriter 3,600 times, and it was the greatest thing to be I'm just gonna do it again, and I'm gonna do it again. And I think that there's a point where being really repetitive allows me to disconnect a part of my brain that overthinks everything. So I have to be repeating something, or I can't shut off parts of my brain that need to be shut off when I'm making things. I need to not think about something. So doing something over and over again, visually, I like how it ends up looking, but it also is more of a mental balance for me. I'm just constantly chasing this idea of this one thing that'll make me feel successful. And I think for a really long time, I was just doing that. I would never feel comfortable with any kind of accomplishment because it would always feel way too easy. And then I would be well, that doesn't matter. What I need to do next to feel better about being successful is this. And then it just keeps moving and moving. So there has to be a point where you learn to define what success is for you. And it's been really hard. I'm 31 and still really struggle with it. I think that I've gotten to a place where I'm actually just starting to own what I do and my process. I think it comes with getting older and feeling more comfortable. And I think I realize that I've overcome a lot, so therefore I have a high tolerance for really terrible things. And I have gotten to the point where I was well, that's a strength. I have the ability and the value to say that this is what my American experience is.